pleasure to be back with all of you, and thank you for the beautiful decorations and the menorahs and the music. Really, that's lovely. So, the first thing I need to tell you is that we Jews usually say around a holiday, we fought, we won, let's eat. And this is one of those holidays. Actually, Hanukkah is really a minor holiday in the life cycle of the Jewish community. And in recent years has come to represent a kind of Christmas substitute for parents of Jewish children who feel that they're missing out on all the gifts and the goodies. And it really is not meant to compete with any major holiday at this time of year. Actually, interestingly, a lot of holidays in the winter are about light. And so one idea is that there was the need to bring light into all the darkness during this bleak time of year. But there is a lot of history involved with Hanukkah. It's the most widely documented Jewish holiday in history, and descriptions appear in the two books of the Maccabees, in Josephus, and also in the scroll of Antiochus. So it's very well described. There are kind of two versions that I'd like to share with you. There's the version about the miracle of the oil, and then there's a more deep philosophical overview that I'd like to share with you too. First of all, after the Jews were allowed to return to their homeland from Babylon, they formed the Kingdom of Judea. On either side, they were surrounded by the Seleucids in Syria and the Ptolemies in Egypt, who were constantly at war. But they were fairly autonomous in Judea and were allowed to maintain all of their rituals and practices. And this was during the time of Alexander of Macedonia, Alexander the Great, who kept a watchful eye, but really was quite tolerant of practices like circumcision and observance of the Sabbath. But when he died, things really changed. The Greeks came to power, and Antiochus appeared on the scene and started to Hellenize Judea. That was their mission, to bring people into the practice of physical achievement, worship of beauty and the physical body, ideas about science and technology, all very good things. But in the process of Hellenizing, the Jews were assimilating and becoming much more outer directed than inwardly practicing their belief system. Hellenization was really attractive to a lot of city Jews. First of all, it allowed them the opportunity to engage in trade and commerce, which afforded them an opportunity to be part of the wider world. Whereas the Jews, the former Jews of Judea were farmers. They were very simple people. They were very independent, and they really did not want to pay Greek taxes that were imposed upon them. They didn't want to lose their intrinsic belief system. And so there was a real pulling away of the Jews who were more rural. In 168, and I think it was BCE, Antiochus decided to impose, to forbid the practice of Judaism completely. And rather than allow the Jews to continue in their observance, he forced them to worship Greek idols, which is really anathema to Jews who don't worship any idols. And he forbade circumcision and keeping up the dietary laws. And At one point in a town called Modine, which is near Jerusalem, there was an incident with the high priest Mattathias, who was a Jew, being ordered to eat pig and to kiss one of the Greek idols. And he was so enraged by this that he slew the Greek general and began a war involving his 5 sons, who came to be known as the Maccabees. The Maccabees were part of the rural farming community. And I guess you could say that they were purists in terms of their desire to remain Jewish. As a result of this guerrilla war, which took a number of years, they were able to take back their temple, which had been defiled. Pig blood had been spread over the temple. They had sacrificed pigs inside the temple. And when they returned to clean the temple, they wanted to rededicate the space, and they lit a menorah. Olive oil was used to kindle the light. And they only found a very small cruse of oil, which miraculously lasted for 8 nights, not one. So the miracle part of the story is that this oil burned, even though there was just this tiny amount. And part of the reason that we light candles is to commemorate the miracle of the lights. We also eat a lot of fried food because olive oil is used for frying. We also, as you saw, there were very festive songs and games and things for the kids, and presents are given every night for 8 nights. So it's a very happy holiday and a wonderful time for us to gather together and to celebrate our belief system. The deeper part of the holiday, for me and historically, is that this was not simply a miracle of lights burning, but it was an affirmation of a denial of assimilation, that you must at all costs fight for dignity and respect and be allowed to practice your faith without being forced into another faith, which I think all of us really resonate with. So it has some very deep messages to it, which I think that all of you can appreciate. And what I'd like to do now with you is to do part of the Hanukkah service that we do in our community. So I'm going to kindle the menorah, and the way that we light the menorah is to use the middle candle. There are 8 days that we kindle, and then there's a 9th candle called the shamus, which means the servant candle. And the servant candle it is called that because you are actually forbidden to use holiday lights to do any work by or to read by. But the fact that the servant candle is there allows you to kind of get around by, if you need to read, you use the light of the servant candle. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to recite the blessings in Hebrew, and I'll share with you the English translation. And then I'm going to call out my 8 volunteers, and we're going to do a reading that we recite in our community. Okay, now I'll probably...
You just lost it.
I lost it. Yep. Okay, let's try again.
Just.
That's not
I
right.
say like the servant candle with the
Yeah,
shots.
if you don't mind, I really would actually prefer that.
Yeah.
So,
There you go.
So when we put the candles in, we always put the candles in from right to left. But when we kindle them, we kindle the most recent night first. So I'm going to start with this one. Hopefully they stay. The menorah commonly is placed in a window or somewhere where people passing by can see it and know its significance. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Hanukah. Blessed are you, the force that rules all of existence, who commands us to kindle the Hanukkah lights. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, sha'asa nisim l'avotenu b'yamim hahem b'zman hazeh. Blessed are you, the force that rules the universe, who made possible miracles for our ancestors in those days, and also makes the same possible for us in our own time. And then this last blessing, we say only one time, and it's usually on the first night of the holiday, and also on a very special occasion to celebrate a simcha, which is a joy and a happiness. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehachianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, eternal force that rules the universe, who has kept us in life, made us flourish, and made it possible for us to reach this festive season. Okay, my volunteers. We're going to have a reading for every single night in Hanukkah. It doesn't matter. Just gather together. Okay. Okay.
Number 8.
Oh, number 1.
Freedom.
Excuse me.
I'll read it. We dedicate the first candle to freedom. The struggle against forced Hellenization was a struggle for freedom of expression, for the rights of the minority to be expressed without fear of repression. Let this candle's light inspire us to protect freedom for all.
We dedicate the second candle to tolerance. Let us strive for a world in which the voice of hatred is no longer heard. Let this candle light the way for us to create a world of mutual respect and tolerance among all the peoples of the world.
We dedicate the third candle to peace. Let us use our freedom to create a world that uses words to build bridges among people and does not use weapons to destroy each other. A world in which, quote, they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, and they shall not learn war anymore.
We dedicate the fourth candle to courage. More important than physical courage is the courage of our moral convictions. The struggle for the ideas and ideals we hold dear. Let this light remind us that without courage, those ideas and ideals remain unfulfilled.
We dedicate the fifth candle to knowledge. The quest for Jewish knowledge for ourselves and our children enriches our lives as Jews and enables us to transmit the beauty and depth of our heritage to future generations. Let this light symbolize our commitment to expanding our Jewish knowledge.
Women's justice.
Responsibility.
We dedicate the sixth candle to tzedek. to justice. We achieve great personal fulfillment by giving of ourselves and easing the burdens of others. Let this light remind us of the other's needs and inspire us to share what we have with generosity and love.
We dedicate the seventh candle to responsibility. Our actions must be guided by a sense of obligation towards others, by the responsibility of every Jew for every other Jew. Let the light of this candle remind us that we must bear our mutual responsibility gladly and proudly.
We dedicate the eighth candle to the continuity of the Jewish people. Each of us must be an active participant in Jewish life so that our children and grandchildren will learn the joy and beauty of their Jewish heritage from our actions as well as our words. May the light of this candle encourage us to make this a priority in our lives, intrinsic to our very being.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for sharing part of what we do in our community. I think you can see that our belief systems are very translatable to yours, and the value of humanity is paramount, and the value of fairness and tolerance. So I'd like to leave you with, if I can find it,